I enjoy working. I just have to tell myself that I enjoy working.
To the world, Dave Kindig is a legend. The calm, confident designer behind Bitchin rides. The man who turns rusted shells into rolling sculptures vehicles so precise, so soulful, they fetch $500,000 without blinking. The guy who sketches a dream on a napkin in the kitchen at midnight, and by sunrise has already called his crew to start making it real. But the truth, the real story to the one he rarely tells. The one that shaped every bolt, every brushstroke, every hard-won decision doesn't begin in a 27,000 square foot facility humming with CNC routers, English wheels, and the quiet pride of 43 craftsmen. It doesn't start with TV cameras, Barrett-Jackson spotlights, or federally issued VINs bearing his name. It begins in a 235-a-month apartment in Salt Lake City walls, thin enough to hear your neighbor's TV, floors worn from worry, not foot traffic. It begins with two babies asleep in the next room, their futures resting on a gamble no spreadsheet could justify. It begins with no health insurance, no safety net,
Last time I had an exam like this, I felt a little, never mind.
no plan B, just the quiet terror and electric hope of people who've decided that what if is worth more than what is. And it begins with a 4,800 401k, the sum total of 8.5 years of showing up, grinding, and saving every spare dime while working at high-performance coatings. Not a fortune. Not even close. But to Dave and Charity, it was everything. It was the down payment on a dream they couldn't see, but refused to stop believing in. This is the story behind the shine, not the gloss, not the glory, but the grit, the tears in a parking lot, the handshake that turned into a betrayal, and the quiet promise they made to each other. If we're going to build something, we'll build it on our terms, on trust, on sweat, and on never letting anyone hold the keys to our dream again. And from that fragile beginning, a legacy was forged.
Well, I got a rib out.
Your wife beat you up or what?
No, I was golfing.
Long before he was designing million-dollar Corvettes or building his own car from scratch, Dave Kindig was just a kid in Salt Lake City, poor, curious, and quietly obsessed. He didn't grow up with a father in the garage teaching him to weld, no older brother handing him wrenches, no family legacy in steel and chrome. What he had was a sketch pad and a mind that saw beauty in the smallest things. As a child, he drew insects, not cartoon bugs, not doodles, lifelike, detailed, obsessive renderings of beetles, dragonflies, and ants down to the segmented legs and compound eyes. His mother watched him for hours, pencil in hand, lost in a world only he could see. And one day she said something that would echo through his entire life. "You can't make those, but your second love cars, you can do those." That sentence was permission. It was validation. It was the first spark of a fire that would never go out. From that moment on, cars became his canvas. Hot Wheels, Legos, magazine cutouts. He'd spend weekends watching rented movies with his wife Charity, sketching cars in the margins of life while the credits rolled. But it wasn't just about drawing. It was about making something from nothing. His first car? A Volkswagen Beetle. He couldn't afford lowering kits, so he pulled torsion bars out of the front beam himself. Couldn't afford custom wheels? No problem. A good stance was enough. That mindset, resourceful, relentless, and rooted in love, would become the engine of everything he built. For years, Dave worked at High Performance Coatings HPC, a stable job in the automotive world, but not his world. He was coating exhaust systems for top fuel dragsters and street rods, meeting legends like Chip Foose, Boyd Coddington, and Troy Trepanier. He watched them build, create, and inspire, and he knew, that's what I want to do. But dreams don't pay mortgages, and with Charity pregnant with their second child, stability mattered. Then came the moment that changed everything. One evening, while sketching in the kitchen, Dave turned to Charity and said, "I can draw a car in one night and make as much money as I do in 40 to 60 hours at HPC. Charity, ever the pragmatist, ever his anchor, didn't laugh. She didn't shut him down. She looked him in the eye and said, "All right, you can quit your job. We'll cash in the 401k $4,800 as long as the insurance covers Drew's birth." And just like that, they bet everything on a dream. They moved into a garage, 2 car payments, a mortgage, no safety net, but they had each other in a belief that what if could become what is. Success came fast. Clients poured in, renderings sold. Cars rolled out of the garage looking like they'd been built in a factory from the future. And then the investors. Two wealthy car collectors approached them. "We love your work. Let us invest." They wrote a check for $120,000. Dave and Charity, self-taught, trusting, and naive about business law, saw it as a blessing. What they didn't know? The investors had a plan. 4 months in, on an ordinary Friday afternoon, everything collapsed. The investors showed up unannounced, called security, had Dave and Charity escorted off their own property like trespassers in the life they'd built from nothing. Their phones, confiscated, their company truck, gone. Even the keys to the shop taken. That night, sitting in a parking lot, they broke down. "We're going to lose everything," Charity whispered. But here's where the story bends towards something greater. Charity's father wired them emergency funds. They hired a lawyer. Within 72 hours, they were back with a court order, turning the investment into a simple loan and securing a 500-yard restraining order against the would-be thieves. When they walked back into the shop, something miraculous happened. Every single employee was still there. Kevin, Will, Valerie, the whole crew. Not because they had to be, but because they believed. One of them laughed and said, "You think people come here for the paint booth? Nah, they come for Dave's ideas." The investors had actually bragged. "If Dave's too much trouble, we'll just hire a designer from California." The crew found it hilarious because they knew the truth. Kindig design wasn't a brand. It was a belief system. And that belief started with one man who never stopped drawing even when he had nothing but a dream. When Bitchin rides first hit the air, fans saw something rare in the world of reality TV. No shouting matches, no stage blow-ups, no fake tension, just calm focus, meticulous craftsmanship, and the quiet pride of a team that treated every bolt like a brushstroke. But what viewers didn't see, the invisible architecture behind every flawless reveal, was a set of unwavering principles forged in fire, betrayal, and hard-won wisdom. First, the 250 to 350-mile rule. Long before a client ever slides behind the wheel, Dave's team puts real miles on the car through city streets, mountain passes, highway merges, and stop-and-go traffic. Why? Because Dave calls this process making the car valet-proof. If something's going to come loose, squeak, rattle, or fail, he says, we want it to happen to us, not the client. This isn't just about function, it's about dignity. A car shouldn't embarrass its owner the first time they hand the keys to a valet. So they drive it like they own it, because in those final weeks they do. They live with it, listen to it, and fix every whisper of imperfection until it's silent, smooth, and bulletproof. Second, no fixed quotes ever. Unlike many shops that give a set price up front, Dave works strictly on time and materials. Every hour logged, every part ordered, every custom fabricated bracket is tracked daily. Clients receive transparent invoices and fund the build in stages, deposits drawn only as work is completed. This isn't just business, it's a lesson carved from trauma. After the investor betrayal, when he was falsely accused of embezzling $44,000 that never even existed in the account, Dave vowed, trust must be proven, not assumed. So now there are no surprises, no hidden costs, no pressure to cut corners to stay under budget. If a build evolves, and it always does, the client sees it in real time. They're not just customers, they're partners in the journey. Third, no scripts, no drama, just truth. From day one, Dave insisted on one non-negotiable clause in his TV contract. Be a fly on the wall, capture what's real. No producers shouting, say that again, with more anger. No manufactured conflict to fill airtime. What you see is what happened. The high fives after a perfect weld, the quiet frustration when a custom trim piece doesn't align, the shared laughter over lunch in the shop. As Dave puts it, I'm not a production company for TV. I'm a car production company. Build the car, capture the magic. Trust me, it'll be there. And perhaps the most shocking truth of all, the car you see on TV is only 85% finished. The dramatic handover, the tears, the hugs, the slow motion reveal that's just the story's ending. But in reality, the car stays for weeks, sometimes months. The final 15% happens off camera, in silence. hand-sanding clear coats until they glow like liquid glass, retorquing every suspension bolt after the first 100 miles, tuning the stereo system note by note, polishing the undercarriage so even the hidden parts gleam. This is where obsession meets integrity, where good enough is never enough, where a car doesn't leave the shop until it's worthy of the dream that started it. Because for Dave Kindig, Bitchin' Rides was never about television. It was about proving every single day that excellence doesn't need drama to be compelling. It just needs truth, time, and a team that refuses to quit until it's perfect. After the investor disaster, Dave and Charity made a vow. Never spend money you haven't earned. They started flipping cars not for fun, but for survival. One of their first big wins? A crashed 1960 Corvette bought from an insurance claim, rebuilt, and sold for an $87,000 profit. They paid off every debt except the mortgage, then did it again and again. But the build that changed everything? The Volkswagen bus. Dave bought it for cheap an orange kennel van that reeked of dog urine. Charity begged him to stop spending. It has to be perfect, he told her. Just trust me. They soda blasted it, rebuilt it, painted it black and white with a red interior. At Barrett-Jackson, it sold for $302,500. With those winnings, Dave did something symbolic. He paid off the bus investment and bought his dream car, a Ferrari 458 Italia, in cash. Because as he says, you don't finance your toys. For decades, Dave dreamed of more than just custom builds. He wanted to design and manufacture his own car, a true ground-up creation. In 2023, that dream became real. The Kindig CF1, a homage to the 1953 Corvette, yet only 4 original parts remain: the glove box door, the grille's surround, 2 dashboard bezels. Everything else? Custom made by Kindig. 3D printed headlights, sand-cast trim, one-off wheels, carbon fiber bodies built in Tacoma. Dave even became a federally licensed vehicle manufacturer, issuing 17-digit VINs under his own name. To date, he's sold 31 CF1s with plans for a fastback, a roadster, and even a nomad wagon. This isn't just a car. It's the culmination of a lifetime of what-ifs. Through every high and every low, one person has been Dave's anchor: Charity. She's the woe to his go, the numbers to his vision, the grounding to his flight. She's always been the one who says, you can jump, but make sure you've got somewhere to land. They've been together 35 years, married 33. And through it all, they've operated as one unit, a committee of 2. When Dave wants to bet big, Charity asks, what's the worst that can happen? When Charity hesitates, Dave says, what if it works? That balanced trust, love, and brutal honesty is the foundation everything else is built on. Dave doesn't just build cars, he lives by a mantra. What if? If you focus on the negative all the time, you're surrounding yourself with negative. But what if we go up here? What if we try and land up here? And if I land just below, that's not so bad. He tells young builders, set your goals high. Because even if you fall short, you'll land somewhere most people never reach. This mindset came from hardship, from watching his mother struggle on welfare, from hunting golf balls to afford BMX parts, from knowing that government cheese checks don't build legacies, hard work does. Today, Kindig Design has a 5 to 8 year wait list for full builds. They employ 43 craftsmen artists, not just mechanics. They occupy 27,000 square feet in a building Dave now owns, after leasing, expanding, and finally buying it in 2015. But none of it would exist if not for that moment in the parking lot when they thought it was all over and chose to fight anyway. Dave still says, my favorite car is always the next one, because for him, it was never about fame. It was about proving to himself, to Charity, to that kid drawing bugs in a poor Utah apartment, that you can build a life out of love, grit, and a refusal to quit. So the next time you watch Bitchin' Rides, look past the gloss. Look for the quiet discipline, the unspoken loyalty, the scars hidden beneath the flawless paint. Because the real story of Dave Kindig isn't in the cars he builds. It's in the dream he almost lost and chose to rebuild better, wiser, and unbreakable. End screen with soft instrumental music. Subscribe for more untold stories of vision, resilience, and the builders who turn what if into what is.